everyone, and welcome to the Arthur Murray Lifestyle Series. I'm Victoria Regan, the Global Ambassador for Arthur Murray International. And today we have someone who has been with the Arthur Murray organization for 42 years, but who's counting? And she has won over 50 international Latin style competitions, both in North America and the world. It's the one and only Shirley Johnson. Hi, Shirley.
Hi, thank you, Vicki.
You're welcome. You know, the reason for this series is because sometimes people are seeing you judge all the time and they love your coaching, but they really don't know where you're from, what you've done, and that's kind of a shame because you have so many credentials. You're from Ontario,
Yes,
I know that.
That's right.
And you basically started with music theater.
Yes, I did.
How did you get involved with ballroom and make that transition?
Well, I got involved with ballroom. Someone came to our dance studio when I was doing ballet, and they said, hey, do you want to get into this ballroom dancing stuff? And I said, I don't know what that is. And he said, well, you know, I'll throw you up in the air and I'll do all these great things. And I thought, yeah, that sounds like fun. I can use all of the things that I learned. It was wonderful.
And that was with Richard
Murphy.
Murphy, who owned the studio in Toronto?
In Toronto.
In Toronto.
Yes.
So let's see, you went there and you, again, I remember you learned everything there was to learn, right? Which is a good lesson for everyone. Tell me how you started then.
I did. I started just as a teacher, but then they made me dance director, and then he made me the counselor of the school, and then I was the supervisor, and then I managed. And I managed two. He had two schools at the time, so he had me managing both of them.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah.
And he never, I think you told me he never really warned you. He just said, that's your title now.
Yeah.
You're doing it anyway.
Right.
And you were
Yeah.
good at it, obviously.
Yeah.
And you were a great dancer because of the music theater.
Yes.
Made it easier.
Mm-hmm.
And then when did you start competing? Or was it up there first?
I started competing probably 3 or 4 years into doing it, and I danced first with Brian Torner. So that was my first partner.
Yes, he's Canadian,
Yep.
and he was a Canadian champion, wasn't Brian?
Yes, he was.
So again,
Yeah.
some people know him, but he was a great dancer,
Yeah.
and so you danced with him for how long?
I danced with him for about 2 years, and we did all the styles. We did American rhythm, smooth, did Latin, and we were doing standard as well. So.
Yeah, I don't think people know that.
No.
In some ways, they probably think of you as the international Latin champion,
Right.
but you did all styles, which
I did.
makes sense because you are good at coaching all of it and can judge it. Okay, so we're moving quickly only because we want everybody to know all the things that you've done and why you are where you are. So you finished competing with him after what, about 6 years, I think? I mean, with the studio for 6 years.
Yes, I was with the studio for 6 years, and yes, and then I was competing with him and managing, and at the same time, and it was great. It was exciting.
Wow, that's a lot.
Go in early and
Yeah.
practice, and then do my job after that.
So the transition to where it all began, your success in the U.S.
Okay, so I was in Blackpool and dancing with Brian, and he had said to me, I really don't want to make any commitments past this point. So I kind of knew what that meant. That I think I need to find another partner. And at the time, Sam Sedano was also coaching us, and Bill Sparks had a partner of his own, but he was also looking for a different partner. And they went to Norway to have lessons, and I tracked him down.
Wow.
And I said to Sam, if he hasn't found another partner, I'd like to try.
So you were the aggressor. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
It was unusual for me to do that, actually, not my personality.
But it's the desire to have a great partner. You kind of did you feel that you knew you had that talent and you could envision yourself becoming a champion?
I did. I thought I can do this. You know, sometimes I know that people go to Blackpool and they're very overwhelmed because there's so many people and it's so big. But for me, it didn't do that. I looked out there and I went, I can do that.
Yep.
I can do that.
I can do that. I can do that. So you got a hold of Billy.
Yep.
And you went to, we call him Billy, you went to Ohio, tried out. And the rest is history, I guess. I mean, 50 championships.
Yes.
So let's talk about when did you retire? What year? I don't know if the year matters, but how many years were you active with Bill?
With Bill, I think we danced together about 5 years, I guess it was. Yeah, and it was a
intense
process. At one time, I did want to quit. I remember that.
Well,
and I had one of the coaches that I had in Canada before Ann Harding, actually.
Oh, yes.
She said, you know, you just have to have a rod of steel inside of you and you just have to keep going. Don't let yourself be derailed. You're right on that cusp. And
you were, right?
Yeah, we were right on the edge of, you know, with the rising star and
Blackpool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Bill didn't want me to quit at that point either. So
it builds character.
Fine.
It builds character.
Yeah.
You retired, and then is that the time that you got married and decided to have a child to take a little bit of a break?
Yeah. Actually, at the end of my competitive career, you know, I thought, well, you know, I want to retire and have a family and do all of that. So I did that.
And you stayed with Arthur Murray's because
I did.
With Arthur Murray's, you can do it all.
Yes.
Right? You're an example of that.
Yeah.
So you had a child. Well, the child is now Tony Jr. He is not a child anymore. He's 16.
He's 16.
So you've managed to juggle, and juggle the family, the marriage, the traveling.
Yes.
Because you travel a lot now.
I do.
You know, you're really back on the circuit, in demand all the time.
I love it.
And you do a lot for the dance board. You know, you're recreating which syllabus? The gold syllabus?
We did the bronze and then
you're rewriting
silver
it.
and
rewriting it. And
yeah.
you don't find that difficult?
No, I don't.
I
Yeah,
remember I asked you that.
Yeah, no, I don't find that difficult.
So
I find it very
you
easy.
do all that too.
Yeah.
Isn't that something?
Yeah.
Let's talk about, speaking of the dance board, let's talk about the certification process. And since you do so many, you're a certified examiner,
Yes.
you're a traveling consultant, you're on the dance board. And how important is that, do you think? And how would you advise all the teachers and competitors to proceed with that?
Well,
It's a big question, but
yeah, I think that it is really important to certify because I think what it does is it allows you to learn all of the technique and the style and study your craft so that you know it inside out and backwards and upside down. And just because you've gone through the steps and the technique doesn't necessarily mean that you're ready to do the test. I think you have to dance and you have to become as good as you can possibly become. So because it makes you a better dancer, a better teacher. And I also think that competing is an important part of that process. I do think it's something
we
that
encourage that.
Yeah.
We have seen where people don't compete and they can still teach and recite the syllabus, but we talked about that the other day. It's not really revealing any secret that sometimes we certify people, but the dance level may not be as high as the
Correct.
information.
Yes.
And that's important. So we encourage that.
Yes.
Not to rush into it every 6 months, but to get a high dance level.
Right.
So you've done
I agree.
that.
Yes.
Speaking of that, you're also a great choreographer. And let's talk about that. This
do
is
enjoy doing
somewhat
that.
advice for everybody watching to take your advice on choreographing. Sometimes we over choreograph, or they want to. Your sense about that.
Right. I think that, you know, that's why I always try to take a look at the student and what's their level, what's their ability, what's going to make them look best.
Yeah.
And just because, you know, maybe you feel like they can do a lot of really hard steps doesn't mean that they should be given those steps. I think you need to follow a process and make them look good.
Yeah.
It's not about the teacher. It's about the student and making sure that they look good and feel good when they're
And then
dancing.
they feel better, don't they? To
They
take
feel-
more lessons.
Right.
So
they
that
do.
they don't feel that when they come to these Superamas, we're at Superama, which is great that you took time for this. When they come to Superama, they really live up to their level and they do well.
Yes. Agreed.
So that's good advice. And what about advice you would have for people searching for a career? You know, you meet a lot of people at parties or in general, and when you tell them you have a great career as a dancer, I think sometimes it's surprising that you
Yes,
can make a living
yeah.
as a dancer. So for non-dancers or dancers, what would you tell them?
I'd say, you know, seek out an Arthur Murray studio, because the thing that's so wonderful about them is that you can go in any direction. You could take a dance direction, you could just be teaching, eventually have your own school. I mean, there's just so many pathways to take
Yeah.
in the Arthur Murray organization, and that's what I found so wonderful. I could use my background from before
Mhm.
and go into it, but I've also seen so many people that don't have a dance background become so successful.
Yeah.
And it's just amazing.
We have a lot. I mean, I've spoken to so many franchisees and traveling consultants who started out, absolutely no dance training. And so we have the best
Yeah.
system. You'd agree?
I agree, absolutely.
Any other thing or advice you'd like to share with people watching, franchisees, directors, teachers? This is also on YouTube, so.
My advice is I think everyone should at least compete one time.
Mhm.
At least once. I mean, if it's something that they don't feel that they want to continue with, but I think that it's something that they should do for a short period, because it does make you an all-rounded dancer that way. Even if you eventually just teaching is the thing that you really feel you want to do, I think you have so much better sense of what it's really about and what we encourage our students to do too. So I think for the teachers themselves, I think they need to do that. But that anything is possible as long as you stay committed and you have a line of attack, so to speak. I think
A plan, like
a
you
plan,
said, structure.
a structure, a plan. I think anything is possible
And
to achieve.
competing builds such, confidence and performance
It
skills,
does.
the fear factor. So thank you so much for all your advice. I hope everyone got to know Shirley a little bit better. You're just great. I love spending time with you. And thank you. And thank you to all for watching and supporting the Lifestyle Series.